I just want to point out in the profile picture of this video that Sirrenn, aka Skillz, aka Emily Thorne, aka Kara of Free Range Humans, Lucian Greaves, conspirator in crime, runs around, was all heavily involved with all of the shit that goes down with Neil Brick's Smart Conference in Connecticut and all of that, completely connected to Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, who's using his Satanic Temple after school daycare to target the kids. Sirrenn left what that picture is she left a comment on Geo Farnsworth, his post yesterday. You know? And Geo, who's, other than the fact that we bragged about murdering your friend, what proof do you have that we murdered your friend? Other than us bragging about it on YouTube. You know? And so now they're the victims. And I found it interesting that this idiot says that I am a clueless idiot. But this bitch came to my house when I was still married, living in Council Bluffs, and secretly recorded everything that was going on in my house for 4 days. And what the fuck did she get? Has she ever released anything incriminating? No. She didn't get shit. They've tried to set me up how many times and haven't fucking succeeded. They just tried with Sherilyn Schlechter, my moderator, you know, who they sent me to. They're all connected. So Lucian Greaves, along with his Sirrenn person, the Skillz person, is connected to Sewertown, posting on Geo's Farnsworth stuff. And Geo Farnsworth, just in a few days ago, posted an email I had sent Thomas Schoenberger Christmas of 2023, before I knew who Thomas was, because it took me a minute to figure it out. You know, he's a very adept liar. But the only way that Geo got a copy of that email is if either I gave it to him, and that didn't fucking happen, or Thomas Schoenberger gave it to him. But Thomas Schoenberger and Sewertown and that whole thing are supposed to be completely at odds with each other, you know? And so that's the whole thing is that they're all supposed to be seemingly in odds with each other, but they're not. They're working in conjunction with each other. This whole child trafficking bullshit is happening together. Thomas Schoenberger, you know, who has quite the history himself. It was him and Johnny Dub, aka Lucian Greaves, who bragged to me that they are the ones who got Isaac to reach out to Nathan Stoltman. And Doug Mesner was involved indirectly when I was interviewed by Nathan Stoltman. So it's not hard for me to believe that at all. But they're all working in conjunction with each other. There is an army of these idiots. And it's just me. It's just me. But they do whatever the fuck it is they want to do, and they are so clueless that they'll just brag. They'll go on to each other's stuff, so then it's easy to see they're connected. If they're not connected, how would that Sirrenn person, why would that Sirrenn person be commenting on a post that Geo Farnsworth wrote? And Geo Farnsworth wants to say, oh, if anybody shows up at my house, dude, nobody knows your last name. And Glenn had told me you lived in Ohio. You say you live in Maryland. How the fuck is someone supposed to dox you? But you and Daniel Dowd dox me every time I turn around. Every time I turn around. So you're doing shit to me and then calling yourselves the victims. And I guess that's how it's supposed to work because the child traffickers are the victims. You're right. The fucking poor little pedophiles just have it so rough and hard, you know? Fuck the kids, you know? This is all one big group, and not every one of them is connected to every single thing that's going on in the group. What kind of organization works that way? Each person is responsible for every fucking thing that goes on in the group. They all have their little places in it. And Geo Farnsworth is low level. Low level. He's like he's the one that cleans up the mess and does the weird shit. But again, he and Daniel Dowd should have never bragged about it on YouTube about murdering my friend Owen. Because I'm not going to let it go. You know? And they bragged about it on YouTube. They're not fucking victims. But Lucian Greaves, because Sirrenn, Skillz, Emily Thorne. Emily Thorne isn't even a fucking real name either. It's the lead character in a soap opera called Revenge, you know? And so that's all this bullshit. They're all together in a group, but then they act like they don't know each other. So they can all attack, but they're not connected at all. Again, how did Geo Farnsworth get an email that I sent Thomas Schoenberger Christmas of 2023? And I didn't know who he was, but then let me just point out, their stories change all the time. Their stories change all the time. Now they can't go on and on and on about how I, as an adult, molested my nephews when they were young. First of all, it's all bullshit. None of it is fucking real. But especially now that I've pointed out, okay, well, that would be impossible because there's only 3 years, less than 3 years difference between Eric Bretz, my nephew Eric Bretz, and there's 8 years difference between Matthew Hester and myself. So there's no way for me to have molested them as an adult. So now they're not running with that. Now they're going with, oh my God, I had anger issues with the dog that almost got solved instantaneously. I got Sirrenn, and by the time I had gotten together with my partner, I was already dealing with the anger issues, and I don't have them now. But with everything that I have gone through, being abused just as a kid, let alone everything that with Franklin and all of that, I had anger issues. I have never been quiet about that. Obviously, I had anger issues. You're all lucky that they didn't succeed with me where they succeeded with my brother Steven. Because they not only wanted me to have anger issues, they were training me to be a goddamn psychopath. A murdering psychopath. They succeeded in my brother Steven. They turned him into a murdering psychopath. He was just like our dad. In fact, in Ocean City, Maryland, when he died, he had that prolific amount of satanic ritual abuse, child porn. That's what he had. He was homeless, and that's the shit that he kept. So when he died, so 2 years after that, some dude, get this, by the name of Larry King in Ocean City, Maryland, got busted with that, and they said that it was the most prolific amount of satanic ritual abuse child porn they'd ever seen before. But my brother was a photographer. He was the person Rusty Nelson said when Rusty Nelson said there were 2 people doing videos for snuff films, my brother was the other one. So Rusty Nelson wasn't lying. My brother was that. And so they turned me in, and they know what I was trained to do. They know what was going on. So they run with stuff, let alone all of this shit. The very last time I ever touched Sirrenn in anger was Easter. And that happened 31 fucking years ago. And so now the bullshit with my nephews, but then again, they ran with I was a felon who got busted with a sawed-off shotgun. They just throw bullshit and hope that someone actually believes their bullshit. And people do, you know? And they're always anonymous. People don't have critical reasoning skills at all. You know, some anonymous dude comes and says something fucking outrageous, and they'll jump on it. But victims never get hurt. You know, victims never get hurt. And so the thing about it is, Virginia Giuffre, anyone who believes that she committed suicide a month before her book was supposed to hit, she would have been given a voice. You mean she actually gave up at the very end, at the very point that she was about ready to get a voice? Really? I think it has more to do with the fact she didn't commit suicide any more than Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. But they'll run with these fucking lies because people are just into it for the entertainment factor. And so everyone will run with, oh my God, the intrigue, the intrigue. And the intrigue is that they're murdering people to shut people up. And they all work together as a group. I may not win. I may not be able to expose them, but my job, what I'm supposed to do is just keep calling them out. That's what heaven wants me to do. I'm just supposed to keep calling them out and pointing out the shit. So when others find themselves in the same shit that I am, because it's not like this group is just going to go away. It's certainly not like this group is just going to stop. That way they can look back and say, oh yeah, you know, this is what I need to look for. And these people are working together. And it's all about child trafficking and a whole criminal operation. And they're all controlled opposition. Or they just act like they don't know each other. Sewertown says, well, nobody knows who Lucian Greaves even is. Thomas doesn't have a clue who Lucian Greaves even is. All involved with this child trafficking, all involved, but doesn't know the very person whose whole MO is to go after victims, but doesn't have a clue who they are. Gabe Hoffman, this documentary person, all involved with it, doesn't know who Lucian Greaves even is. Craig Sawyer, this hero that's gone on over, doesn't know who Lucian Greaves even is, never even heard of the Satanic Temple, let alone the Satanic Temple after school daycare bullshit. But they're all connected because they're all fucking liars. And they're all connected. They're all working as a group because this is government. And it's not fucking Mossad. It's CIA. It's the bullshit that's happening right now. It's the bullshit. But nobody ever listens to the survivors. You know? This group of fucking child killers can drag you guys around by the fucking nose with every little intrigue that they want to throw. But you never get close to the truth. Noreen Gosh has her own little sycophant group. You know? Been drug around by the nose with the bitch who's saying, oh, well, I'm going to expose my son Johnny Gosh's abduction in 2 weeks. Notice how it's always 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks later, it's 2 weeks. Then 2 weeks later, then it's 2 weeks. 40 fucking years later, it's going to be exposed in 2 weeks. 40 something fucking years later. That's how it works. This is the game that they play. And then they just murder anybody they want to silence. Or they set them up. Sirrenn, a.k.a. Skillz, a.k.a. Emily Thorne, a.k.a. Kara of the Free Range Humans, calls me an idiot. But has tried to set me up over and over and over. Their group, they tried to set me up in Washington. They tried to set me up in Council Bluffs. They've done it repeatedly in Harlan, and they fail every fucking time. Every time. But I'm the idiot. You know? Never met a more clueless idiot. I've never met a bigger piece of shit. You know? Fucking came into my house, recorded everything secretly for 4 days, and got nothing out of it. Nothing. And that was years and years and years and years ago. Thomas actually sends me that whole thing with the fake ass account from Joe Rogan and the woman who was supposed to be part of his producing team. You know? All of that shit was all fucking mind games. It was all mind games. But the truth was mixed in. Why are all these people focused on me? I'm not viral. It's what I'm saying. They're not doing it because that I'm crazy. They're not doing that I'm a liar. They're not exposing what I wrote about in my book about Sirrenn 31 years ago because they want justice for a dog. You know? That's not why. The lies that they fucking hung up all over town. They're not doing it because they're vigilantes trying to do a good thing. They're trying to shut down someone who's trying to expose them. That's what they're doing. That's what they have done. That's what they've done, not just to me, but to so many other people. And so the peanut gallery sits back entertained. You know? So what? Three Eye Atlas just fucked up the sun in a way that we haven't seen the sun explode the way it did on the other side, and that's because Three Eye Atlas is on the other side. When it comes back around, if it has the same effect on the sun that it's had thus far, we're fucked. We're fucked. At least our technology and power grids are fucked. It may not end up the last scene of like knowing that God, I can't even think of his name right now. But it's a movie knowing where the whole planet. It's not going to happen like that. But we get hit with all those fucking CMEs and plasma blasts. It could fry our technology, fry our power grid, fry our satellites. And to say that we couldn't experience another Carrington event is ignorant. All I'm supposed to do is just keep doing what I'm doing and calling these motherfuckers out because what they're doing is evil. Flat out fucking evil. They're an evil motherfucking group hurting kids, you know? And dancing around with impunity. Like they think that nothing, you know, like it. And it's not this vast group. The worker bees that I'm talking about are simple. If you investigate them, it will lead you to more, I'm sure. Michael Aquino, Gabe Hoffman, Thomas Schoenberger, Doug Masico, a.k.a. Doug Mesner, a.k.a. Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple. Kara of Free Range Humans, a.k.a. Sirrenn, a.k.a. Skillz, a.k.a. Emily Thorne. See how it works? They have a zillion aliases, you know? Then you go to Sewertown, Jesse Davis, Corey Daniel, who was involved with Isaac Cappy's murder. He's known as a.k.a. Phoenix Enigma. His wife, Isaac Cappy's last girlfriend, Alicia Ray. She's known as a.k.a. the Sicilian Witch. Daniel Dowd, a.k.a. Pootie Twang, a.k.a. American Witchcraft, a.k.a. fuck, the list goes on and on with that one. Geo Farnsworth, a.k.a. Clown Sex Sucks, a.k.a. whatever the fucking, that's not even his last name. You know? That's not even his last name. Nobody knows where he lives. He's doxing me all the time, hoping that someone shows up and shoots me in the face, which is what he accused me of. But he's doing it to me, not the other way around. Why do I think that Daniel Dowd and Geo Farnsworth came into town and murdered my fucking friend Owen? I don't know. Maybe because they bragged about it on YouTube. Maybe because Daniel Dowd posted a bunch of live YouTube videos of my town. So obviously he was here, you know? And they'll say, other than the fact that we bragged about it on fucking YouTube, what proof do you have? You know? And Geo's in here. He fucking obsessively watches everything that I do. But I'm not viral. And why? Because he bragged about murdering my friend. And I'm not going to let it go. Sirrenn, who left a comment on his post yesterday, is a.k.a. Emily Thorne, a.k.a. Skillz, directly connected to Lucian Greaves and all of this fucking child trafficking bullshit. Kara, a.k.a. Emily Thorne, with Lucian Greaves, it was Geo's account that he posted he was in Harlan. And it was Daniel Dowd's account. But that's just it. You guys sign up all kinds of accounts. And then you say, well, you can't tell who we are. But it's always all of you. I've shown it on my blog. I've shown it. Screenshots of your own shit, dumbass. I can show the Sirrenn, aka Emily Thorne, and they were all involved. They were instrumentally involved when they murdered Lori King with that Amber Volatin, with the Ivory Garden, you know? But you have Gio's name. That's just it. I'm not Gio, but I have Gio's name. So I'm leading you to believe that I'm Gio. And then when you think that I'm Gio, I didn't claim that Emily Thorne is Lucian Greaves. Different sexes, dumbass. You obviously are Gio because you are dumb as a motherfucking rock. And that is doing disservice to rocks. You are just the dumbest fucking thing. No, you figured that you can trigger me. And the fact that you go out of your way to try, that you are obsessed with me, that every live I do, you come on here. And why? Because you don't want anyone to listen to me because you bragged about murdering my fucking friend. You know? And I'm not going to just let it go. What's my proof? You and Daniel Dowd fucking bragged about it. At the same time, my friend ended up dead. That's the proof I have. Am I a fucking law investigator? Why is it my responsibility to do a official law investigation? How did that become was I nominated for sheriff? Did I fucking get a job I don't know about? Why is it my job as a victim to have to go investigate these fucking murderers who bragged about it on YouTube? Well, how is that my responsibility? How is that my job? But that's how it always works with victims, isn't it? If we don't have DNA and film and fucking testimony and everything, we come prepared as victims, we're fucking thrown right out the window. The perps are fucking the ones that are respected. Jeffrey Epstein was respected over every one of his motherfucking victims. They just murdered Virginia Giuffre, you know, to shut her up because her book was just getting ready to come out. That's what ends up happening. And they all work as a group. They're all in it as a group. All my job is to call it out. Because what you know, you're responsible for. And so people who sit with this information and are just worse, entertained by it, you're going to be held responsible. And of course, everyone wants to negate their own responsibility, but that doesn't change the facts. Flat out, you know? But they're all connected. That's how Gio got that email from Thomas, because I didn't send it to him. How did he get it? He had to have gotten it from Thomas. But they're not supposed to even be friends. They're supposed to be adversaries. You know? They're supposed to be adversaries. So why did Thomas give him my email? Why is Thomas talking to Gio? Why is Thomas talking to any of them? Because they're all connected. And they dance around with impunity. They don't give a shit that people know that they're connected. You know? Because they feel entitled. Your kids are theirs. You know? They're entitled to do what they are doing. They're entitled to do it. You know? And they'll call victims names and they'll attack and they send people to break into my house and then they brag about it. Oh, well, we're paying people to come into the house. I fucking know who it is, you know? But Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross ain't going to help. His deputies are busy. They're the ones who got filmed hanging up the flyers downtown, you know? That's the shit that goes on. And if people want to believe this group of fucking child killers, go ahead. But I've proved everything I've said. And T he wants to do an interview with me saying that he filmed the cops. You know? He wasn't alone when he did it. He had a friend with him. That person said they were watching the cops hang up the flyers. Why would they lie? But Shelby County, Iowa Sheriff Neil Gross and his deputies have all the reason in the world why they don't want anyone to know. So they have reasons to lie. You know? But then they work on alternative facts. The Erlin, Iowa gas station explosion that they blew up, it was a domestic terrorist attack. They tried to murder me with that gas station 11 months after they murdered Isaac Cappy. And it's an easy, all you have to do is compare the official report saying that the place filled with gas, one spark leveled the place, one explosion. Compare it to what was done that night with KETV when they came out, because a gas station exploding was big news. They came out. Neil Gross knows there were 2 explosions. He was interviewed. Dan, who was the owner of the garage, who got out after the first explosion, then went back in, got his brother-in-law, who was in the garage area where the bomb went off, got them both out to safety before the second explosion leveled the place. He was on that nightly news program. And I know because I was also interviewed with that nightly news program, you know? So I was there. It's not like I'm talking out my ass. But this group obviously knows about Neil Gross and the whole meth operation that's going on here in Shelby County. That's why they have Neil Gross by the short and curlies. So, you know, but they're all connected. They're all connected. And they're all involved with child trafficking. And they've been called out by a ton of people. I'm not the first. I'm not the only. I'm just the loudest at the moment. And I'm just, all this is happening on a spiritual level. That's what I believe. It's all happening on a spiritual level. I don't have any hold on the outcome. Do I think they're going to be arrested and go to court and end up in jail and blah, 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 blah? Fuck no. I don't believe any of that. That's never been my focus because the justice that these motherfuckers need, the justice that these motherfuckers need isn't available on this side, but it's waiting for them right after they take their last breath. And that's what's going to happen. And they can argue about it. They can poo-poo it. They can do it. They can do and say whatever the fuck they want. They're going to do and say whatever the fuck they want. You know? They do anyway. What difference does it make? You know? What difference does it make? Does it change anything? No. Nothing at all. And do I think anything is going to be done about this child trafficking bullshit? No. And why? Because it's never been dealt with before. It's not like this shit hasn't come out before. And every single time, it just gets shoved under. No one's going to deal with any of this. You know? There is no justice to be had on this side. And most people don't want to be involved. They just don't want to be involved. They want to be involved enough to be entertained, to watch it, and maybe wring their hands once or twice. But other than that, you know? So, that said, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray for general prayers for all of us, because when 2 or more are in his name, and so I think I've been thinking about it, and I think my prayers generally end up becoming very focused on myself, which is what prayers do, you know? But I think they need to be more generalized for everyone. So with that said, Heaven, we come to you as your children. We are in stressful days. You know, there's a great gnashing of teeth, justice, rules. And we live in an upside down world where good is being called bad and bad is being called good. And criminals and murderers and child traffickers are being heralded as victims, while the victims who call them out are looked at as troublemakers or perpetrators or worse. And there's a lot of us out here who have been victimized by that situation, who have dealt with this, who are dealing with it right now. And I just ask that you end up vindicating us, you know, that you end up validating what we have said in people's minds so that they wake up enough to where it compels them to do something, to say something, and to keep the momentum going, because some things are worth fighting for. Show us, extend to us your grace and your mercy, and keep us on the path of righteousness, calling out this evil, no matter how poorly it plays out in our own lives, because actually it's not an easy path to take at all. And we say these things gratefully in your Son, our brother's name, Jesus Christ, who you sent down to solidify the word. Love God, love each other. And as we fight for the children, that's how we show love. Not being vindictive and going after people who have nothing to do with anything at all, but rather bring the culprits and the real perpetrators out into the light so that they are unmistakable. And I say these things in your Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen. And now he's just come in. You know, I would think that he would get tired having to do all of these names, because all I do is block you. That's all I do. So then you have to come up with a bunch more, and every night it's something new. You know, every night it's something new. They set up a new email because I just blocked their email, and it's all one person, you know. But again, it's their group. So the person that I'm battling may not even be Geo Farnsworth, but he works in the same group as he does. He's not just some arbitrary person who's just taken it upon himself to do what he does. They get paid. They get paid to do it. And so that's how it works, is that they get paid to do it. And it's nonstop. And what it's meant to do is drag a victim down and silence them. They want people to think there's no hope, that it's all them and they're in complete control and nothing can thwart them and they're all powerful. And none of that is true. None of that is true. You know? So let me go through the list, because I don't think I finished the list. It's hard for me to, you know, but it's the same names I always do. Michael Aquino, Gabe Hoffman, Thomas Schoenberger, Lucian Greaves, founder of the Satanic Temple, his little idiot Skillz, who now calls herself Sirrenn, who's Kara, Free Range Humans, is Emily Thorne. They all have fucking a zillion names, but they're all the same fucking people. Then you have Sewertown, Corey Daniel, a.k.a. Phoenix Enigma, Alicia Ray, a.k.a. Sicilian Witch, Daniel Dowd, Geo Farnsworth, Jesse Davis, Manuel Chavez, I think that's his name, Defango, that's a.k.a. Defango, Chavez is a.k.a. Defango, Tara Joyce Randolph, Not My Rabbit Hole with Tara Joyce. It's her connections that are connected to that barely legal porn group in Las Vegas that is connected to a lot of this bullshit too. That's the reason why she's involved with all of this and going after fucking victims and survivors. I'm not the first person she tried to ingratiate herself with, you know? And Craig Sawyer, Thomas Schoenberger and Craig Sawyer were the ones who murdered Isaac Cappy. Corey Daniel and Daniel Dowd were the ones who put Isaac's dead-ass corpse on that bridge. By the picture that I have shown, you can tell that dude is not alive. His skin color, the way his hands are, his fans are, he's totally expressionless. There's no life. There's no life in that picture. Anybody who looks at that picture can tell that dude was dead. already before he ever went off that bridge, you know? And so Daniel Dowd, who was involved with Isaac Cappy, Daniel Dowd and Gio Farnsworth are the ones who came into my town, murdered Owen, and then bragged about it on YouTube, you know? And Daniel Dowd may have lived in Arizona, but his sister lives in Joplin, Missouri. And I know he was in Joplin, Missouri because he told my sister, because Kathy came to me, because I believe Kathy was involved. She knew what they were going to do to Owen, and she was okay with it, you know? But she was mad at Owen for being my friend. So, and Kathy cares about Kathy. There's not much else that Kathy cares about. And they're all working with my stepmother. My stepmother is working with that Famalam thing. What is Sherilyn Schlechter, the one who was my moderator, who set up the Gmail account that she always posted but never gave me access to. So I don't have any access. I don't even know who emailed that account. You know, works with Famalam. Famalam is the whole thing that Isaac Cappy had done to fight child trafficking that they ended up using for child trafficking. And now there's a bunch of fucking child traffickers on it, you know, along with my stepmother who fucking murdered kids. And so it never fucking changes. I just keep saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I call out the same people over and over and over again. And they're all connected. Obviously, they're all connected. Of course, they're going to lie and say they aren't. What the fuck do you expect? They're liars, criminals, murderers. Really, you think truth-telling goes with those things? Because it's almost, the truth is the antithesis to those things, you know? And so and I'll just keep calling it out as it is. Keep calling it out over and over and over and over. Because otherwise it makes me complacent and worse, complicit. For those of you who appreciate what I'm doing, you know, fuck, it's Halloween. This is a terrible time. And I've been broke for a week. Food is scarce. Now there's no food stamps, and so I don't want to go to the food bank because I know they probably don't have much. And I feel like I'm taking food from kids, you know? This is all being done systematically. But if you want to donate to the cause and help me out, Buy Me a Coffee link is in the description. I haven't listened to it, but I was sent a link to some dude who talks about Virginia Giuffre's book and calls out names. And so I guess that interview is really, really good. I trust the person who sent it to me, and they watched the whole thing. I haven't seen it yet. I'll end up sitting down and watching it here soon. But PayPal and Venmo are just me, Shurter. I sell my book, $30 if you're in the United States. My PayPal and my Venmo is just at, and then my first initial D and my last name, Shurter. Like this, D, then my last name, Shurter. I have a blog, davidshurter.com. None of it is monetized. None of my videos are monetized. I haven't been in this for the money. I've been in it to expose the shit and try and stop it as best as I can. And that's what I've been doing. And so, but I'm in God's hands because they have me isolated and they have their thumb on me really hard. They are starving me. They're trying to convince me to commit suicide. That's what those emails, those constant emails every night. I get like 10 to 15 fucking emails from the same idiot who sets up a new account every time because he has to, because I block everything. I don't even usually read this shit. That's why he started putting it in the title, because he knows I'm not reading this shit. I'm just going and blocking it. But it's constant harassment. It's trying to wear down a victim. That's what they do. That's what they did to Isaac. That's what they did to Virginia Giuffre. That's what they did to Tracy Twyman. That's what they did to Lori King. That's what they did to Max Spears. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's what they done to Fiona Barnett. The list goes on and on. The behavior is always the same. It's always the same group. And yet, all of these anonymous motherfuckers who come in with all these fake-ass names and fake-ass pictures will say, well, you can't prove I am who I am, and so therefore you don't know, you know? But you can tell a tree by the fruit it bears. And the fruit this group bears is rotten. Everything about them is rotten. And so, with that said, that's Thursday's Live.